Welcome to the Agents of the Roundtable Wiki Community AMA. Every Monday, we discuss Secret Network and its applications with guests from all around the network. This is an audio recording of the AMA. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome. I think you're on stage now.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Right on. Happy to be here. Sorry about that. I wasn't sure how to get it working online.
No, it's all good. It's our first episode using Twitter Spaces as well. We are normally in Discord, which is very familiar, but this is okay. We're trying to change it up a bit.
Oh, 100%. Completely new to me. I barely use the Twitter app on the phone as well, so completely new to me. I still had to permission it inside of the Android settings just to get the mic to work.
Yeah, I feel it. I have a new phone as well, so that's how it goes. Well, welcome anyway. You're hearing me. I am also known as Ertemann, and with me I have Ronin Ventures. Maybe you want to introduce yourself, who you are, and then we'll get going.
Yeah. So sorry about that. Seems like some music started playing. But yeah, we're Ronin Ventures. We're a validator on Secret Networks. We've been part of Secret Network now for approaching 9 months. So you've probably seen us around. You've seen our moniker on the validator list. Right now, obviously, we're actively working on a Secret Network-based wallet called Kryptik Wallet that is in active development, and that's our main focus right now. But we've tweeted about some of our other products that we're also simultaneously working on via Lance, the Ronin Collective NFTs, and a few other things that are also on our website.
Yeah, it seems like you are a busy bunch. With how many people are you developing this, or how many people are behind Ronin Ventures as the validator themselves?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time? It seems to have cut off there.
I was curious with how many people you are in the team. So, how many people are involved with Ronin Ventures and the Kryptik Wallet, but also the validator?
Yeah, so for the most part, I do most of the infrastructure level work, running the nodes. We operate, obviously, APIs that some people are using for different apps or NFT launches and stuff like that. We have helped support infrastructure-wise with nodes for the secret network API. We also operate on testnet. So that's predominantly me. But I'm also a developer, so I participate in the development of the wallet. And then we also have two full-time developers working on the wallet, both mobile and extension. They're React developers and React Native developers on that end. And then we also have two more designers and my partner who helps with management of the projects I'm simultaneously working on. So overall, we're a team of 5, although we do have very close relationships with some other friends who do a lot of contract work for us along the way.
Yeah, so it's quite a big team, and it's good to hear you have a lot of friends. I hope everyone in the crypto ecosystem has some friends, because in the end, we're all here to achieve similar things. And then I guess the main topic of today is that we're not only interested in your wallet, but just wallets in general on Secret. So I was curious as to um, how you've basically seen that Kepler was not cutting it, or maybe that there was something missing, and that you felt like, okay, hey, we need to develop something, and we want to develop a wallet, and how that came to be, basically.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Obviously, we came onto the network first as investors, seasoned crypto investors, and been around, used plenty of DeFi and interacted with a lot of different extensions and wallets and stuff like that. And I think immediately when we came to the network, it was already somewhat at a pain point. Like right off the bat, I couldn't see my transactions, so I didn't even know, secret nodes existed at the time. What the explorers were. I'm like, why can't I see my transactions inside a wallet? That didn't make sense. And then over time, you kind of, as you continue to use the wallet and, start interacting with dApps, and then you realize you have to do viewing keys, and then, permissioning and things like that. And it's like, there's a lot of pain points in terms of the user experience, that aren't as intuitive, I would say, to users by default, especially if you're coming over from Ethereum or any other chain. But for the most part, most people are used to, EVM-based chains. So there's a lot of consistency of what they're already used to, which we don't have currently. And those pain points are pretty obvious. And then over time, also the infrastructure problems, I think more so than anything, and the failures there. And at which point we kind of had already started doing our validator and doing secret nodes and stuff like that. And we felt that we had a strong enough grasp of doing the infrastructure portion that we could then start from infrastructure, work our way up to a wallet, and kind of start peeling away at the layers that are necessary, in our opinion, to create a really good user experience on Secret Network.
Yeah, so it all came to be from being a user, and then I guess my interest peaks here is how long have you been in the ecosystem, or have you known about Secret or Cosmos, or yeah, how long have you been familiar with using Secret Network?
Sorry, Ertemann, if you can hear me, it seems like my connection is dropping, so you're kind of cutting in and out there. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, you're a little bit softer, but it's okay for me. My question was, as you described basically that you've come to know you want to develop a wallet because you've understood that what there was before was not enough. So you must have been a user before that. So I was questioning how long you've been a user already of the network and when you became familiar with Secret Network and the Cosmos in general.
Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Because I cannot hear anybody.
Well, at least we're getting the full Twitter Spaces experience, which this is typically how it works.
Yeah, this is indeed what I've been familiar with so far. It's always a struggle, which is why we've not used it, but now we are.
Yeah, it's a tough decision because it's great for people seeing you and getting that visibility, but it's a lot more technical difficulties, which is never fun to deal with.
I guess there is an ease of use because as soon as you open the app, basically everyone can see that there is a space, but it still has some flaws.
Yes, loud and clear.
I guess that's the downside of using mobile, is that the connection is a lot spottier than trying to do it on a desktop. Then I would not have any problems.
Welcome to Twitter Spaces. This is how it goes.
Completely new to it, man, but it's all right. It's all right. So sorry about that. Yeah, what was your follow-up question thereafter?
Yeah, you said you wanted to develop a wallet because you saw that there were problems with the current user experience, basically. So I was questioning how long you've been a user of the network.
Like I said, we've actually been on the network for 9 months now. I was an early Enigma investor, but I kind of, fell off from that after everything that happened. And then I came back in 2021. So at this point, yeah, roughly speaking, 9 months. But a lot of those pain points that I kind of described were pretty evident right from the get-go. I mean, when you started to kind of dive in to see why this is happening and like why isn't Kepler doing things to make that experience better, you kind of come to realizations like, their bandwidth is kind of small and they're focused on a lot of different networks. And obviously Secret has a lot of its own very unique needs.
Yeah, it does. The user experience is different because of the additional privacy and the I guess the access control that comes with it. Yeah, so you indeed said you were 9 months. You are here for 9 months already with the validator. I was just not sure if you personally as well started 9 months ago, but it's good to see how quick a journey can go. I guess 9 months ago was also the time where I got heavily involved with the network. So it's cool to see a lot of people come from around the similar time.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like pretty much as soon as we joined the network, it was kind of you could either sit on the sideline and hope that somebody else solves the pain points into a product that you believe in, or you can actually be participatory in trying to solve those problems yourself. Which is kind of why we like, all right, let's immediately hop in. I think we can run infrastructure, we can start building wallet, and then kind of start going on from there. And like I said, peel back those layers for the user experience, one layer at a time, to make the user experience really nice across the board. Because we'd enjoy it just as much as I'm sure other people would as well.
Yeah. So then about the product, I guess the pain points are very clear, but what are the solutions in your opinion, and how does Cryptic Wallet go about solving some of these?
Well, yeah. Obviously, step one, like I said, since these are like layers, infrastructure is always is a key portion of it. And by infrastructure, I mean those secret network nodes that are handling the querying and the transactions. The RPC nodes and API nodes. So that's step one. And so we're kind of working on that right now. We've been testing around APIs. We've provided that publicly to kind of get a feel for like, well, all right, what can we handle, what can we not handle, to eventually be able to point our, the wallet to these nodes. And we're about to make some more efficiency changes to those now that we have some more information and data over time. So yeah, that's step one. After that, you're kind of looking at, all right, what are the pain points or things that users are kind of missing? And these are kind of just basics that you would expect out of any wallet to begin with, which is things like just being able to view your transaction history. What was my last ones? From a user perspective, typically you're not trying to bounce around to too many places to get what you need to get done. The minute I send my transaction, I want to see that transaction history. I don't necessarily want to go to secret nodes and wait for secret nodes to catch up before I can actually see that transaction. And then on top of that, some kind of level of confirmation that, hey, my transaction actually went through. Or there was an error, and then what was that error? Is it a user error or something else? And really providing that level of feedback to the user that we felt was lacking in something like Kepler. Right, there was plenty of times where we do a transaction and we're kind of just twiddling our fingers, like, wait, did something happen, or did it go through, or stuff like that. Right, so very basics to start off with, and then from there, I think the next level is getting users to be accustomed to the concept of viewing keys, which I think is one of the big main separators between us and anything else. And it's like, how do you kind of, I would say, obfuscate those viewing keys so that they're a little bit more intuitive to users without actually necessarily having to call it viewing keys, right? So it's something as simple as like you're toggling the token on. And it's not like you're creating, telling, oh, you need to go create a viewing key. It's like, oh no, just toggle it on your wallet. That's all you need. That's a little bit more intuitive. And then go down kind of routes of things like that, one at a time, to make that experience better.
Yeah, branding of features really can go a long way, I guess, in what you're saying. And viewing keys are actually a very simple thing. It's not a big complication, but because of the separation of creating a normal transaction and creating a viewing key, and also the your transaction history not being in the same place, it actually becomes a lot harder than it has to be. So it's good to hear people are working on this and creating a more integrated experience for this specifically for Secret Network. And can I assume this wallet eventually also will be able to host other Cosmos chains, or is it only a secret wallet and does it use the secret network coin type, or the coin type most Cosmos chains use? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, 100%. Ironically, I was just having a conversation in terms of the HD path with our developers right now. And best way to approach this, because obviously there's Secret usually had its own legacy one before, but everybody's trying to get on 118 to kind of consolidate. But yeah, no, over time, you have to support the rest of the Cosmos ecosystem, right? It's IBC is a central part of being part of the Cosmos ecosystem. And it'd be kind of silly, I guess, on our part if we only ever supported Secret Network, and the second you wanted to go use, Osmosis or be on Juno or any of these other networks, you basically have to swap to a different wallet. From our perspective, that doesn't make sense, right? Like a big thing that drives what we're doing is user experience, and user experience is limiting the amount of places that you have to go and the amount of clicks you have to do to get to what you want to do. So putting all that inside of a single wallet is more ideal over time.
And you talked about the derivation path. Are you willing maybe to quickly explain in layman terms what that is and why it is different amongst certain chains and what that does for a wallet or users, basically?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. You could definitely try. I'm sure a lot of people might have noticed, like when you go to create a wallet, there's like an advanced feature, especially in Kepler, and it's basically a set of fields of numbers that you can input, and allows you to basically take from a mnemonic phrase or seed phrase that most people are used to, from that be able to derive, in theory, an infinite number of different addresses, right, and private keys and stuff that you're used to. In the HD path, most people are just create their wallet, so it's just the default. But in theory, you could set it to something else, and it changes across networks as it means like, all right, our network is this one, another network's different, and it kind of sets the standards for the different networks. And I know right now, obviously, the Cosmos ecosystem, like I said, is trying to consolidate on 118 as the coin type, which is the second field in the derivation path. And Secret previously had a legacy one as well. So really allowing the users to right, if you did do that, but if we want to support you, we kind of have to allow you to be able to input that if you made that change manually. Does changing the path affect you as a user in terms of a wallet or being able to interact with dApps or stuff? Not at all. It's just a method as to how the software itself gets to your address, and then also simultaneously allows you to create a dozen to several dozen, 100 more addresses from that single same mnemonic phrase, which is really convenient.
Yeah, on one hand, it's a very convenient option. I mean, if you have a ledger, you can even use the same phrase but different paths to create different wallets. It's of course different than the coin type of a chain, but it also creates some friction. For example, we had problems with Terra Station when Terra was still up. That if a user had a Terra Station wallet already and they created a Kepler wallet without importing their Terra Station seed phrase, then they would have a separate wallet for Secret Network and Osmosis and things like that, which they don't have to. And it's still the same with Cosmos Station, who uses a different derivation path. That if a user imports his Cosmos Station seed phrase into Kepler and just uses the standard derivation path, then their addresses won't match up and they think they lost their funds. So people actually don't think this is important, but it's very keen. You have to be keen about the derivation path a certain chain uses and which is connected to your seed phrase.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like you can definitely tell from observing the chats these kind of level of frustrations, and we kind of we pay attention to the different support questions that people are asking, because we do see a lot of things where we're like, oh, that's more of a failure within the user experience of the UI that is making that more complicated than it probably should be. Now, HD paths are typically something that are like more of an advanced user who has an understanding will actually change it from default. But for us, we can try to make in some levels of assumptions, like, all right, are you coming from another network? What's their path? Let us set that for you so that you don't have to be thinking about these things as the user. We should be able to do that for you and make it easier.
Yeah, in the end, the applications will make it easier for users, and it's good that people are really thinking about how they can change it, so that if basically more and more people come in who are not as technically savvy, I guess, with all the things that crypto brings with it, they have a more easy experience using networks like us. And then
Definitely.
for your wallet, I've seen a very small UI come from you yesterday when I was in an IBC chat where you were redesigning the rep.secret.network UI. And for people who don't know, UI stands for user interface. I think more of us will use it. It's basically where you connect to a certain application or what you use. And I guess I'm just interested, like, how does the UI of like what went into thinking about the user interface of the Kryptik wallet? Will it be an extension which just has a small pop-up, or will it also be a big dashboard? And then how do you go about designing this for users in mind?
Yeah. So the wallet itself, it's an extension and it's a mobile wallet. I think the beauty of being able to develop using React is that you're able to port up over a lot of your logic, and then from there it's just same logic, different UIs, and you can change that around. Dashboard isn't in the initial. That's like a phase 3 feature, because we do want to provide additional things that are better to be inside of a dashboard, just because you have more size to work with from a UI perspective. But when we approach the UI design inside of the wallet, it really comes down to one, thinking in terms of what is the user already used to. There's certain level of interactions or expectations that when a user sees a certain type of UI, like, oh, that differentiates this from being a button as opposed to that from being an input. And then from there, it's like, all right, what feels most natural towards getting from A to B, right? There's a task that the user is trying to accomplish. And from any type of user design, typically, you want to allow them to do that in as minimal number of clicks as possible. So we really have to kind of think about that. And I work with the designers, since I have a lot more experience than the designers in terms of interacting with crypto. So there's a lot of back and forth in saying, like, all right, this is how kind of intuitively I would expect to be able to just send a transaction to stake, to get that extra information, or as simple as creating a viewing key. Is like, can we eliminate a step there to make it easier for the user, and not have to jump through extra hoops unnecessarily.
And then, just out of my curiosity, like, when you're possibly combining transactions, so let's say someone buys a certain token, they approve it, and then the wallet recognizes that there is no viewing key for this token, then how does a wallet see basically that there is no viewing key for this specific user, and what kind of data do they need to store or handle for the wallet, basically, to provide a good interface for the user?
Yeah, I think if I understand your question correctly, from the wallet's perspective, obviously there's a two-part component, because if you're interacting with, say, a Dap or something, you're on a Lend or something, we have to provide an API where the developers of these Daps are able to interact with the wallet and say, hey, this user is creating a token on the first time on our Dap. And then additionally, inside of the wallet, like the wallet gets told, hey, this is the token, this is the information of the token, the contract, and all that stuff. But there are a lot of tokens that I think, like the I would say LP tokens, like liquidity pool tokens, like the basic ones, we're thinking more like Button, Sienna, Shade, that are pretty, standardized projects on our network. We just provide that as a token option by default, and you just have to click enable. So if you just interacted with something and you don't see it, and you just click the add token, you will already have a list of tokens that we know, we've already checked over, and you can just activate it. And then there's no questions asked like, oh, where's my token? It's like, oh, I just have to activate it. Boom, there's your shade token. And that kind of makes that interaction a lot easier.
And does this activation cost gas fees or?
Yeah, so obviously, since it's a viewing key, if you're creating a viewing key, it does, you'll initiate the transaction flow, which it'll tell you like, oh, you're creating a viewing key to view this token. But in addition to that, there is the option to enable for permits, right? Because we created permits was a change to that so that it's a free, and that's assuming that the token has actually moved over to the newer SNP standards as opposed to SNP 20.
Yeah, no, I was curious as to whether or not it will have gas, because you seem to create it as an enable function, and maybe it is possible for the wallet, for example, to incur like basically to sign the viewing key transactions when you make the wallet instead of when you get the token for the first time. So maybe it costs you a few secret, but you already have every token in there. You just have to enable it when the time comes that you actually need it. But I guess that is not the case for the implementation you guys made.
That's an interesting that's an interesting proposition. So you're saying when you create the wallet itself, to go ahead and create all the viewing keys for the user?
Yeah, I mean, things like this would be possible. As soon as you create a seed phrase, you could query all the contract addresses on Secret Network and make a viewing key for everyone. I'm not saying it's the privacy first and maybe best solution, but it's an option, for example, where the wallet saves all these viewing keys. As soon as someone generates the wallet, maybe they incur the cost themselves of the secret, so they automatically see the wallet or something. And then as soon as a user gets the token inside of this wallet or creates an LP token or whatever, then the viewing key is already there and they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I do think something optional is, or through the authentication flow of doing something where you do give the users here the list of tokens, and you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want, or you can select all of them. I think there you kind of have to make the assumption that the user actually does have the tokens. They have secret in that wallet that they just create to be able to do the actual transaction. But I think in the instance of tokens that have permits, that actually makes it 100% more feasible, because then you don't even need to have any type of funds already preloaded on that account or something like that, right? You can just create the permit, sign it, cool, and now you have access to all these not viewing keys, but permits to view these tokens.
Yeah, it's permits enable a lot of things. The privacy consequences of using permits and viewing keys are a little bit different, and I guess that's something users will be educated about in the long term when that becomes very important for them. But for now, it's cool that permits provide a whole different optionality to access control. And then basically going forward on the fact that, let's say you have all the tokens, then you can also immediately see all the transaction history. Would that be inside the extension, or is there a separate dashboard where you can that would be similar to like a text application or something where you see the transaction history? How do you guys go about that?
Yeah, so if you have, as an example, if you have a token that you can view and you've already created the viewing keys or the permit, you can definitely we will show you the transaction history for that token, because since the wallet already has that viewing key enabled. And then in general, for things like secret, we can just naturally, for secret, govern the base secret token, not the secret token. We can definitely query that. So we already have that inside of the wallet. You could just view your transaction history, get some very high level overview details in terms of that transaction, and then give you the additional option thereafter if you really want to dive in a little bit deeper to get even more details in terms of the transaction, because there's a lot of data that actually comes with the transaction typically. But typically most users are looking at like, all right, how much did I send? How much did I receive? What address did it go to? What data did it come from? So like the really high level stuff. So we provide that by default to kind of make it very human readable. And then from there, the points you towards a block explorer if you actually want to see further details beyond there. So like right now, that would be to go to secret nodes. But as some people have pointed out on our website, we do have a explore secret block explorer on our roadmap as something that we will be building that will help support the Kryptik wallet in that regard.
Yeah, cool. So it's very intuitive to work with the transaction history, which is nice because truthfully, it can be a pain in the ass to find out. For example, let's say you pull Bitcoin with secret on Sienna, and then you having to find out which of the 20 transactions in the list is the interaction with the Sienna pool, and then how much you put in there initially and how much you compounded. It can be a bit much, and I'm very lucky. Lucky I don't live in a jurisdiction where I have to provide every single transaction. But if you do, I imagine your life to be very hard when you're handling secret tokens. So for sure, this will be a very big improvement to the entire user experience on the network. So very cool.
Yeah, I think like it's like a main objective is always user experience and providing a lot of, I would say, modularity to the user and giving them as much access and control to their data, into their information of what they're doing, how they're interacting with dApps, how they're with their transactions, everything that they're doing on the blockchain.
And in the end, all this data, it is shown via the wallet. But since we're coming from a privacy network, I guess many of us are willing to understand what kind of data is maybe saved by the wallet, or how does it go about data privacy. And let's say it queries the chain. Does it save anything of the queries you're making, and can a user verify this, for example?
As far as the wallet itself, we're definitely not storing any type of information or anything like that. We know we had looked at Kepler to see what type of requests it's making, and it's making data requests to third-party API that kind of tracks your interactions with Kepler. We're not doing that off the back. That's definitely not something that we think offers privacy, and privacy should be at the forefront of that. So anything that you do on the wallet is, completely local side to your device, and you have complete access to that. And one of the things we want to do and will do is basically allow you to export all those interactions, right? As you accumulate interactions and have that wallet history and show you you connected to this wallet to this dApp, to this website, and you disconnected this date, you connected this date, and have that all information build over time so you can view that yourself, beyond just transactional history, but more like your history of what you're doing yourself. But none of that is accessible to us. We're not sending that, or we're not storing that into any APIs. The only type thing that we query or interact with is the blockchain nodes themselves, the API nodes, and those aren't storing any information. For the more technical users, they in theory could look to see, right click inspect on the extension and view exactly what the requests that are going out from the network. And you'll see that they're all just going straight to basically the APIs for the secret network.
Yeah, so you said it's locally stored, so that means like viewing keys and the permits I have and whether I am connected to a certain application is all on the user side storage.
Yeah, as of right now, definitely. I can say that we are working with one of the contractors that we work with is a security expert, and we are trying to come up with solutions that where we can easier manage that without having all that local storage, because even on local storage right now you kind of have to rely on the fact that we're appropriately correctly encrypting everything that happens, but we are going to also simultaneously in further phases look to further improve beyond that. But yeah, for now definitely it's interacting with local storage, encrypting all your data, so only you have access to it via your keys. You can unlock it, encrypt it. And this actually already happens with most wallets. They unencrypt and recrypt on the fly as they're signing transactions and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, user really is in control in the end of their own usage of their seed or their private key, which is in the end a wallet is just a way to interact with your private key, but it's nothing more than that. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. And then maybe for everyone who's listening in and who's not very familiar with what a query is and how that would work, I'm gonna paint an easy picture. Let's say I open the application and I want to send some S secret, so secret to you. I fill in your wallet address, or maybe I look in the address book and I click your wallet. I send 10 secret to you, or sorry, 10 S secret to you, and I click confirm. Then what happens? Like, where does my data go, and how does that work? Can you maybe point out like the flow of the transaction, if you might?
Yeah, I mean, if you via the UI, you enter your inputs in terms of how much you want to send, you click confirm, and then the wallet does a quick signing of that transaction. Basically, think of it in terms of like structuring the data that's necessary, right? Like how much you're sending, who you're sending to, all that, packages it up really nicely, signs it, and then it sends that directly to the blockchain node, right? So it's sending that to the the RPC or the API to handle that transaction. That then gets added by that node into their mempool, and then that eventually gets processed by the validator, and that transaction, that once that's computed on the network, 6 seconds on secret, 6 seconds later, we double check, make sure that already went through. So we'll require the node, ask the node, hey, what's the current state? Did that transaction go through? Yep, if it went through, cool. We'd let you know and notify you, hey, you sent your transaction, it went through, it's good to go, and then adjust your balances accordingly.
Yeah, it really does sound quite simple.
Well, I think that's the general flow of most wallets, right? It is quite. When you think of it in terms of flow, it's a very simple, but definitely along the way, you kind of have to take some extra precautionary steps, and that's where the trust comes in trusting whoever creates your wallet, right? That they're not necessarily doing anything nefarious in terms of sending your, because they're able to technically temporarily view as they're doing things. You gave them your seed phrase, so they're able to derive things, right? And they're not sending things onwards. So once we're at a good state where the wallet is nice and ready, we're definitely going to, open it up. It's no longer being a private repo. It's available, so users can actually go through, look at the code, and be like, all right, and here's the hash for it. You can confirm that what you're downloading from the Chrome Web Store is from that exact same code base. And you can confirm that we're not, sending your information. We're not doing anything else. Everything is happening. All the signing and all that stuff is happening locally. And all that's happening is that transaction is just sending a quick little message to the server, to that node. Hey, here's the packaged bundle for that transaction. It's signed. And the node adds that to the mempool, and then it gets confirmed by the network.
Yeah, and then you quickly mentioned that the query nodes could potentially save a lot of data if they are willing to. Is this different when you're talking about secret networks, seeing as these nodes also have to run STX to do some of the computation or some of the queries they are willing to they have to do?
Well, see, in theory, right? Like you're still sending information to a server that somebody is technically running, right? So we could, and not that we do or will, but we could, in theory, put you behind something like a reverse proxy. We can gather information in terms of, what's your geolocation, what browser and stuff like that, and then track that over time. But the actual transaction information itself, it's not like we can reverse that and then find out what your private key is, right? And then huzzah, we have your money. It would be more doxing your personal information rather than your wallet information.
Yeah, it's really not as easy, but there's of course still some nuance to where your data goes and what is available and what is not.
Yeah, I think, there regardless, it's like you can only there's always going to be some like very small areas where there is going to be some potential to data leakage, and you still kind of have to trust a third party. And hopefully over time, we can make those easier and easier to trust. Like eventually running most things in a decentralized fashion as much as possible.
Yeah, it's it in the end there's always a trust assumption, but we're trying to minimize that. And even if you do trust, you can still verify a lot of things when the code is open source. I guess I'm gonna finish with one last question, and then we can open the floor. Ask anyone to come up and ask any technical questions or questions specific to Ronin Ventures and their products. And that is maybe a multitude of questions, but it's a simple thing. One is there ledger integration? And then two is, can you speak on the other products that you're delivering, and how the community can potentially support you in delivering those?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I had messaged Secret Saturn. He was behind the Ledger app for Secret, because we definitely wanted to make sure everything is kosher and we can have his support in terms of being able to integrate that. So that's definitely on the roadmap, and being able to support that. Obviously, it's going to vary depending on which wallet you're using. You're on the computer using extension, or you're using the mobile wallet? You'll have access to different Ledger devices accordingly. But on top of that, we have a very rich roadmap and a lot of ideas long-term wise. Right now, we're kind of just in that phase one where it's like, all right, we're just trying to solve right now for the Kepler pain point, get an MVP out so you have everything that you're kind of used to. And then in phase two, we're really going to hit hard in terms of getting, Wallet Connect, so that's easier, Ledger support, and then start expanding to other networks, and then providing a lot of, other feature sets on top of the fact. I think one of the key cool things that we're looking forward to in terms of the mobile wallet is having these native Dap integrations directly into the wallet, that you'll just be able to work with certain apps, have a router and wrapping and your DEX right there inside of your wallet. You don't have to go anywhere else in terms of it for a user experience to get all that kind of stuff done. There's a lot of, I think, really cool dApps on Secret Network, and a lot of them from our perspective do belong inside of a wallet. From a user experience standpoint. And I think, partnering with these teams rather than recreating it, but partnering with these teams to be able to integrate that into the wallet, it's going to be very key. So if you're in Secret Network, you're developing something and you want to see that inside of a wallet, and we can definitely work with you to integrate that into the wallet. I can, right off the top, I'm thinking of things like black box as an example. The black box features both of those features, like I definitely think belong inside of a wallet. Being able to send via aliases rather than addresses, we can definitely make that a lot easier and smoother and just user intuitive, where the user just has to enter the alias. They're not even thinking, oh, I have to go to a certain website to do this, and pop up Kepler and all that. No, it's all built into the wallet. And there's a lot of other, I would say, dApps like that I think 100% makes sense directly inside of the wallet. And then as far as other projects, Kryptik Wallet is actually meant to be the first kind of like a sub layer of eventually other Kryptik Wallet products. I think a few of them are, NFT related. And definitely metaverse related as well on top of the fact. So you can expect to see those eventually. But right now, I think predominantly focusing on the wallet as that basis, because we need that before we expand to everything else. And in addition, I think, like I mentioned earlier, is a new block explorer. We haven't technically officially announced that, but it is on our website. We have a beautiful UI for it, beautiful user experience for it. To be able to provide a lot of more information, whatever information is available within the blockchain, and provide it in a very nice user experience. So I think that kind of semi-broadly covers things without revealing too much. And you can definitely look forward to seeing our light paper for the wallet, our website and stuff like that that's coming up soon. And additionally, we'll be opening up our Discord channel so you can start joining, and we can interact more with the community and get feedback and things like that. Open beta so you guys can test it out. especially if you're already a delegator to Ronin Ventures, we'll prioritize you in terms of being able to get beta access because you're already a supporter of Ronin Ventures.
Yeah, you heard it here, guys. Delegate to Ronin so they can keep on developing and then hopefully support their other products with which will make them, which will enable them to host these wallets, because I can imagine it costs a lot of money to create a product like this. And then, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not cheap.
Yeah, developers ask for a lot of money in this space, but they're also quite good. So I hope it's worth your while. And then I'm opening up the floor. So if you're here and you have a technical question or you have something specific for Ronin Ventures, then come on and ask to come on, and I will give you permissions to talk, and then you can ask them something. Initially, I think I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce your name, but it's Operator 6. I've seen you around quite a lot. Do you have a specific question you want to ask? Then please go ahead.
Hi to everyone on the space. I wanted to ask specifically to do with when the mobile app is actually released, does it work seamlessly with apps, dApps like Shade or Stash, or do you now have to actually integrate it or coordinate with some of these dApps to actually make it work? And the second question was to do with the ledger support. While we wait for the ledger support, would there be some level of security where you can use your fingerprint for the mobile phone?
Oh yeah, no, definitely great questions. In terms of the mobile wallet, we do have a developer API that we're actively developing. We've actually talked to the Shade team. We've talked to with Stash. So there's definitely coordination in that respect. Like I mentioned at the very end, certain apps I think natively belong inside of a wallet. And we've talked with these teams to be like, we're integrating them into the wallet without you having to go to anywhere else or another website and stuff like that. But in terms of other dApps that you haven't mentioned, yeah, we're definitely providing a developer API that will be intuitively allow you to do that. And then in addition to that, one of the big things that we'll make is the Wallet Connect feature, which is, allows you to basically seamlessly just using your phone, the camera, scan a QR code and create that connection between your mobile phone and that dApp that you're using to be able to do your interactions. And then as far as okay, can you repeat your second question real quick?
Oh yeah, I was saying that as we wait for the ledger support, would you have extra levels of security, whether if it's a two-factor authentication or being able to actually use the security ID with the fingerprint on your phone?
Oh yes, 100%. One of the biggest things I think that we've worked on even for the extension is trying to figure out, I was like, all right, what are the best options extension wise to provide you some kind of two-factor authentication. And then definitely on mobile, it's a lot easier because phones, you have the access to those native phone features like fingerprint scanners or facial scanners, so that you can decide where and when you want to enable that for. And that is to say, like, all right, do you want it just when you're sending this specific type of token or for all tokens, or when you're changing certain settings, right? So really give you that level of access of when you want to have that confirmation from a second authentication method.
Okay, great, thanks. And I don't know if you mentioned when we would be expecting a beta or a full release.
I have not mentioned that quite yet, but you will probably see it on the website that's going to be coming out here shortly in the next week, probably.
Great, thanks.
Of course, anytime. Thanks for your question.
Anyone else who wants to come up and ask something? It doesn't have to be related to the Kryptik Wallet per se. If you have any other question to one of us, can be about validating, about the spaces, about anything secret related. I'm sure there's something somewhere in your mind where you're questioning how it goes or what it's about.
Well, personally, I'll be interested to know more about the NFT collection that's supposed to be coming out. I don't know if you have more to speak on that.
Yeah, actually, we do. We're working on two separate projects in terms of NFTs. There's the Ronin Collective, which is our direct NFT collection, and that is I think a multi-part NFT series. There's a part of a gamification in terms of how you go about burning them to basically level up the characters. And I think a big thing that right now happens with NFTs is that once you bought your NFT, I know people like to look at the ranking in terms of rarity, but you're kind of stuck unless you buy something that's more rare. But let's say you're stuck with two less rare NFTs, but giving you that opportunity to essentially re-roll the stats in a certain fashion, to basically re-roll the whole list of the whole ranking system, and allow players to kind of like play around in terms of being able to change the stats to get something rare potentially, or combine stats, or to get something completely different, to something either to more of their liking or something that's potentially a lot more rare. And then additionally, in terms of, the Ronin Collective is meant to be for more of like a private community for those who really are supporters of Ronin Ventures. There are certain people out there who are early delegators and they made it known. We know who you are. And we want to have those people, put them inside of our community, and then give you additional benefits. And those benefits will arise from all the different products that we're working on. Some of them could be things like discounts on fees for certain types of trading and things like that, or additional premium features that other people won't have access to. So we get to really build around that community and people who really believe in our vision. And it's really cool. Obviously, we're Ronin Ventures, so it surrounds the idea of Ronin. There's 2D images, both public, private, PFPs. There's 3D images involved as well. A lot of really cool ones. You can look back in our profile, our Twitter profile, to see a lot of those. And we'll be releasing a lot more of those. And that's the first one. And the second one is we partnered with a cool concept artist out of Turkey, Ozan, to bring his basically a storybook, but it's like an art book, but it's a storybook that he's kind of been working on this whole world called Via Lance. And he works on these art pieces, and they each take 2 weeks to build, and they're part of this larger story. But basically helping him bring that to life. And that's a multi-portion NFT collection that comes with a storybook. You own the NFT, you're going to get like these really cool in the private metadata audio files that nobody else will have access to, and videos that nobody else will have access to. Only the owners of these NFT collections will. And then on top of those, both of these collections will have benefits to some of those. I mentioned a metaverse project for the Cryptic product suite, and those will have benefits in that as well over time.
Sweet, thanks.
There are already so many people to delegate to, but maybe I have to add one to my list.
We definitely welcome it.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. There are so many great validators who have been joining the set lately, or in the past 9 months even. But there's just no way everyone can support everyone. But everyone, but we're trying, I guess.
Yeah, no, 100%. In terms of validation, I don't think it's any secret, but we are a pretty highly performant validator. Even during the times where we had trouble sometimes in terms of network performance, I think we managed to do really well relative to a lot of other validators. We came in fresh into the network and came out swinging with high performance. But hopefully over time, we want users to recognize, hey, delegate to Ronin Ventures, you're going to get benefits. That's going to be part of a community, and we're to keep building for the community, for the Ronin Ventures community, and obviously for the Secret community on top of the fact. And that really supports us in being able to continue to do this and build out the vision over time. A lot of building software takes time. It isn't like a 1 week, 2 week thing and you're just out. Like, these things take months and months, and you get the preparation, design, and things like that to get them and get solid products out to users that you can definitely trust. Because there's, especially in this space, I think a lot of we see hacks and all kinds of stuff all the time. So really being able to trust that we're building solid products and that there's long-term benefits to supporting.
Yeah, I see the entire ecosystem moving this way, where validators must provide um, either a specific product or something special, but it really has become more of a competition, which is maybe not good for some validators, but it's very good for the ecosystems that they are working in. So it's good to see. And the Secret Network set has of course, some of the major Cosmos validators, but also a lot of very specific people. And I also always think it's very nice to see, well, people like yourself, like organizations like yourself, get up higher and higher in the set, basically because they do a lot for specifically our network and are very dedicated to secrets. So it's good to see.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, and we're obviously, like you said, we're 100% dedicated to Secret Network at this point. We're secret maximalists for all intents and purposes. It will and always will remain probably our mother network, as we like to call it. And I think, especially when it comes to the wallet, I think it's easy to easily get lost with all these other dozens of chains. We definitely hope to support them as well, as because we want to support the Cosmos. Everybody wins together. But Secret is where we start from and go from there. We'll always be a Secret supporter.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being here. I can quickly open the floor for one more person if there really is a question, but otherwise we're cutting it here. I want to thank everyone for joining in. This was the first episode which we are recording in a Twitter space instead of in Discord. Because of the bear market has been a little bit more slower and quiet in the Discord, and here in Twitter spaces it's quite easy to reach our entire following. So you can expect us here every Thursday at 5 p.m. UTC, which is 7 in the night Central European time, and I think it is 1 p.m. Eastern time for the people in the US. And then, sorry, I'm not so familiar with other time zones, but you can calculate it out yourself. We will be here every week. 1 week will be an education session, which is next week. And then the week after that, again, will be with a guest and we'll be discussing a certain topic. And we're always ready to have any questions because we want these sessions to be as open as possible. So now we only had one guest, but I hope that in the future we can have 6 or 7 people here all asking questions because we always have very knowledgeable guests and maybe I can answer some of those questions myself as well. So thank you for being here. And Ronin, if you want to say one last thing, then go ahead and then we'll cut it there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, thank you so much for inviting me and having me. If you have any questions, you want to learn more, we're always available. You can find us Ronin Ventures on Telegram. We're on Twitter. Same thing on the Discord channel. We're definitely super active, so you can definitely reach out to us. Eventually, we'll be opening up the Discord, our private Discord, and you can hop in there and ask any questions, learn more about things, and kind of follow along as to what we're building. And then you can actually see actively what we're building because we have a dedicated GitHub channel where you can see all the updates in real time as they happen every single day. So you can see the active development. And then additionally, if you're a builder or if anything like that, we're, developers and stuff like that are just as much as our user as a wallet. We want to work closely with you on the development of the developer API. So please do reach out with your frustrations and things that you would like to see features wise. And we'd love to integrate that into the wallet. And then I think that should cover it.
Thank you very much, everyone, and see you in a week.
Thanks, Ertemann. Have a great one.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great one too.
Thank you for listening in on the Agents of the Roundtable Community AMA. Follow us on Twitter at secret_AOTRT and every Monday at 7 p.m. UTC in the Secret Network Discord.